So you grew up in Ohio, it's Big Ten country, of course. How did growing up in just such a big sports family and athletic family shape your own love for sports and then ultimately lead you to football?
Yeah, I mean, both my parents played college basketball. So growing up, I was pretty much in every sport. And then they were always, kind of there helping coach me and whatnot. My mom actually coached my basketball team and then helped with my football team. So she was always around. And then my grandpa also is a huge sports fan. So um, growing up, we always would watch uh, college games and watch Ohio State play. So I kind of grew to love football. And then once I hit middle school, that was kind of where my love was. I was a little too short to play basketball at
I was gonna say, did the moms
yeah.
want you to play basketball? Or were they like,
I
come on?
I think maybe a little bit. And then they realized like he's not going to be 6'5", 6'6", so he should probably play football. But yeah, that it's always just been sports, and whatever I kind of wanted, they were always super supportive. But yeah, that's really just how I kind of fell in love with sports, just always around it.
Love it. So you make your journey over to Penn State and you step into this role maybe a little earlier than expected. And you never, ever, ever want to see a teammate get hurt, a teammate go down. But suddenly you're handed the keys to the car. What was going through your mind at that moment when Drew went down?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of like you said, just my heart broke for him, but I was excited to just go out there and play with the guys. I've gotten since I've been here, got to build a really good relationship with all the guys out there. So I was just super excited for that, and they were just telling me that they believe in me and whatnot. So just having that opportunity, is really just kind of what I'd wanted, and I felt ready for it. So it was really just excitement to be able to go out there, and then obviously to play in the environments we got to play in. I mean, we got to play at Kennett, got to play at Ohio State, and obviously at home last week. So just watching all of it growing up, and then being able to actually play in them was just something I was super excited for.
How cool is Kinnick? I feel like
Yeah, yeah,
it's a little bit of an underrated stadium,
it,
just like slightly. You go there and you're like, holy crap, this is
yeah, no
awesome.
doubt. Especially when the sun goes down, yeah, it turns up a little bit. It definitely was, up there for loudest environments I'd been in
It
before.
is powerful. It is loud at that
Mhm.
place. So you look at your first three starts, you just named them. You got Iowa, Ohio State, Indiana at home. What are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned from those three games that you've thrown into some tough competition?
I think, just being able to, go against the top defenses in the country. I think, obviously going into them, it can be tough to start that way. First three starts are top five defenses in the country, but I think it's really more of a blessing, because I get to experience those. Like, Ohio State's defense, being number one in the country. Like, you're not going to face guys like that, every week. So I think just being able to have that under my belt, like, hey, we've played, the best, teams in the country, like the I think that is super helpful just moving forward for my career in general. Like, um being able to just have that experience has been super, I'm just blessed to be able to have those.
Your coach Terry Smith, he said after the Indiana game that you grew up in the second half and really took control of the huddle. What changed for you in that game? Was there a play or drive where you just felt things kind of slow down and felt at ease?
Yeah, I think that drive coming out of half, I think it was either our second or third where we went down and scored. I think that's really where our offense started to click at. Hit a couple guys, down the field, and then our run game really started to take off. I think that's when our offense really just hit that next level and got into full stride, and then ultimately helped us uh, come back in the game. Nick's big run, was obviously huge for our team and him. But I think that's really where we started to click at.
When you think about just the comfort level, the chemistry that you have with your teammates, how has that developed now that you are the starter, now that you've kind of settled in a little bit? Do you have any comfort blankets out there that you're like, hey, if I get them the ball, I know I'm in a good spot?
Yeah, I think yeah, absolutely. I think our team, just the guys that we have, all of them are, just have been fantastic. Like I couldn't have asked for a better group of guys to go out there with. But guys like, Kyron and Trevor, just being able to have that off-field connection, has been super important for me coming into the position I'm in, just to know those guys are going to have my back regardless, of what happens.
That's sweet. And of course, you have a great mentor, I would imagine, in Drew Allar, being able to kind of
Mhm.
sit behind him, learn from him. What's your relationship like with Drew, and how helpful has he been?
Yeah, Drew's, like one of my, best friends here. Like me and him, have since I got here, knew each other, but me and him I've always, been able to look to him for advice on the field, and he's been super helpful just in the role he's in, kind of just becoming like another kind of coach almost for us. Has been super helpful for me. On the side, having him on the sidelines the past couple weeks. Just telling me what he sees, and then kind of helping the offense in general. It's just he's really embraced the role, and I think he's done a great job with that. And then coming in here watching film with me on Mondays, going through the stuff with me. So yeah, he's just been awesome, and I'm super thankful to be able to have him around.
You're a young guy. You're in a room with a lot of veterans. How
Mhm.
have you gone about earning their trust and the respect of your teammates? That's, a tough position to sometimes be put in.
Absolutely. Um, I think part of it is just kind of realizing, hey, it's not going to be earned overnight. You can't just go out there one time and expect everyone to just trust you automatically. But I think the connections that we built in the locker room prior to that, helped kind of accelerate that process. On the field, I think just going out there and just being able to battle, like those guys are gonna look to you, if something goes wrong, like how are you responding to that? And that's something that Coach O'Brien and Trace, kind of tell me is like, hey, these guys are looking to you when something goes wrong. How are you going to respond to it? I think that's one of the biggest things that I've learned since coming into this role is just being able to embrace that.
Is there anything that you tell yourself as you're running out onto the field, or if you're in a moment that's, a big time moment, just to kind of calm your mind down? Do you have any like mantras or something you fall back on?
Not really necessarily a mantra, but just something I always tell myself is like, at the end of the day, it's just football, right? Like why else where else would you want to be at? Why else did you start playing this game? Like since you were a kid, you dreamed of playing in these games. So, I don't that's I don't really necessarily get too nervous or too worked up for anything just because it's like it's just football, and this is what I dreamed and this is what I wanted to do. And now I get to actually go do it. I put in the work during the week, and I have these guys around me that like I can trust. And so it's like just go out there and have fun. Like just go play the game that you love.
Pretty lucky to do what you do. You got a good one this weekend, Michigan State. Their defense really has improved over the last few weeks.
Mhm.
When you look at their film, what stands out to you? Where do you think you might get some opportunities on Saturday?
Yeah, they got a lot of good players, and they play a lot of man coverage. So I think trusting my receivers and tight ends to be able to go win in those one-on-one matchups is going to be huge. And I think we definitely have the guys to do so. So I think that's one of a huge key to the game this week is just winning our matchups one-on-one and doing our job.
Last question for you, and it's a tough one. When you think about just the rest of the season, not the results, not the wins, the losses, what do you hope people say about how you handled this opportunity and what you brought to this team?
Yeah, I think. I've kind of touched on it a little bit previously, but just kind of these guys are going 100%. Something Terry talks about is when we go, we go. They're and we've obviously had a tough stretch the past couple weeks, and you don't sense any quit with our team. those guys deserve, so much more than, just just quit on the season. So I think that I just owe it to those guys, and coming into the role, it's definitely, been tough, but being able to embrace it and just go into each week like a new week, regardless of what happened last week, and just giving the most you can, because at the end of the day, that's what you're going to remember is the guys in the locker room, and how you guys finished the season together. And I was kind of thinking about it on my way in this morning on the car drive in, is like we only have so many opportunities with how many seniors we got on this team. Like the guys like Nick Dawkins, obviously, Drew Shelton, like Vanga on the O line. Like I'm not gonna have an opportunity to play with those guys again, on this team. So just really not taking that for granted, and just every day at practice going 100%.
Embrace it all. Well, we're excited to be watching you on Saturday. Best of luck out there.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate you.